Hi everyone, welcome back to another A&WMA Academy interview series. My name is Fianna. I'm the chair for Whitepack Professional Development Committee and your host for today's session. The A&WMA Academy interviews highlight developing professionals, their career journeys, and their experiences with A&WMA. Our goal is to inspire fellow young professionals and provide meaningful insights to career growth and professional development. Today, we're welcoming Diane Freeman, who is also a senior principal at SLR Consulting and a technical director for Ambient air monitoring. We're very excited to hear about Diane's experiences and learn from her perspective. Hi, Diane. Can you please tell us about yourself?
Sure, thank you. So I've been doing ambient air and air quality engineering for over 30 years. I went to university at the University of Waterloo in Ontario, Canada, and immediately started working for an environmental consulting company and worked there for 23 years and then spent some time working with some other companies, including an architect, and then I moved over to SLR Consulting in 2021. But in addition to working as an environmental engineer, I also work as an elected member of council for the City of Waterloo in Ontario, Canada.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I would love to hear more about your day to day. How about we begin with what's your favorite part of your job?
Sure. I think that what I love the most about doing air quality engineering in particular is I always feel it's a lot like that show, How Do They Make This? I get
Mhm.
that opportunity of going to industries or being involved in assessing air emissions for a whole variety of different things that happen in the world, whether it's extracting aggregates or mining, or whether it's a facility that produces cookies or maybe chocolate bars, or maybe they mold plastics for the automotive industry, or they create parts for steel parts for cars and they grind them and they weld them and all of those things. And I just find it fascinating. I love learning about how things are made or how the world turns. And it's just a great career in which to do those things.
That sounds like such like fascinating job. Like you get to do explore the things that you're interested in and learning how things work. But on the flip side, I'm sure every role comes with its challenges. What would you say is the most challenging part about your job?
I think that it's probably for most folks that work in consulting is that willingness to recognize that you don't know everything
Mhm.
and learning how to ask the right questions to learn what you don't know, or
Mhm.
to recognize that there's things you don't know and that you need to learn, and seeking to stay on that growth pattern of learning is a challenge. I would say that one of the other pieces is just time management.
Mhm.
When in consulting, because you are working for a whole variety of clients, they all want their work done first, or they all think their work is the most important. And so it's also coming up with realistic expectations for those clients and for your own personal life.
Mhm. Yeah, very well said. Um, and then I guess is there a specific challenge you would like to share, and then one that you've faced in the past and how you have navigated that difficulty?
In consulting in particular, you will often run into challenges with really difficult clients.
Hmm.
And so understanding the importance of communication and navigating through those difficult times. There's there will also come a time where you get things wrong. You make mistakes. You send a report in for someone to review and they find an error or something. It it's a bit overwhelming sometimes to think, gee, I
Hmm.
thought that I got it all right, but then I didn't. So I oftentimes refer to it as the art of failure. I think that making mistakes is really important,
Hmm.
and making them in such a way that they're big enough and bold enough that you can see and fix them the next time. It's always that continuous learning piece. If you don't learn from errors that you make, then you it's unfortunate, and you should really figure out how to learn.
Hmm.
But I'm a musician. I sing, and I used to always say, when you make music, you
Hmm.
make mistakes loudly so you can fix them the next time.
That's amazing. Thank you. Um, that's very insightful knowledge. Like, learning from the mistake you make in the past, and then don't be afraid to make mistakes again in the future. Just
Mhm.
always keep open mind, trying to learn from it. I think that's really useful insight. Thank you so much. Um, I think you already touched on this. Thinking about your personal career development, what have been the most useful skills in your career?
Mhm. So as we journey through our
Hmm.
careers, things change. The environment in which we work change.
Hmm.
The 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 people we work with change. The clients we work with change. And it's adapting to change is a really critical part of being a good um, a good professional.
Hmm.
And um, and that willingness to change. So if you a lot of people think that Darwin said survival of the fittest. We hear that all the time. Survival of the fittest, survival of the fittest. But that's not really what Darwin said. What Darwin said was those those creatures which are the most resilient to change will survive. And I think that is the best advice I can give professionals, is build a career for yourself that is resilient to change and that is adaptable to change, because your life will change. Maybe you'll choose to enter into a long-term relationship with somebody. Maybe you'll choose to build a family. Maybe you'll choose to make a move. Maybe you'll choose to quit your job. All of those things require you as a professional to be resilient. Sometimes employers have to make challenging decisions where they let you go. That doesn't necessarily always mean you did your job wrong. Maybe they're downsizing, maybe they're restaffing, maybe they don't want to continue to pursue the area in which you work. So so just take those changes in stride and look to the next opportunity. One of the sayings that I also like to lean into is the word serendipity. Um, I love the definition that says serendipity is when preparedness meets opportunity,
Hmm.
where you're prepared for something to come up and you can then seize the opportunity to run with it when it comes along.
Hmm.
Um, I think a lot of times we become innovative and the most resilient to change when we're put in a situation where we feel tremendously uncomfortable. And and those situations are they should be leaned into. Lean into them and say, gosh, like, how do I make this work? Or what do I need to know to be resilient to this change? Or what do I need to do to progress my career past this point? I think that those things are the best advice I can provide.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I think when we get comfortable with our current job, sometimes we think things is the things they are, and then we sometimes forget that everything can change quickly. And then came from your what you said, like we always need to be ready, be prepared
Mhm.
for the
Mhm.
next change. And then I think that's very helpful for me, at least. And thank you so much.
Mhm.
Um, and then maybe we can shift gears a bit. And then would you please share how did you first get involved with AWMA?
Yeah. So many years ago,
Mm-hmm.
really many, because my oldest son is 30 years old, so that can give you a sense of just how many years I've been doing this work. So way back in the 1990s, I was working for an engineering company who encouraged me to get involved in the local chapter of Air and Waste Management Association. It was the
Mhm.
Ontario section. And I had an acquaintance that was doing work in the section too. And so I reached out to him. It was Tony Vander Voren. That might be a name that some people recognize because Tony's certainly been involved for many, many years, and he's a past president. And I said, Tony, I really want to engage in the Ontario section. How can I help? What can I do? And I'm just a doer kind of
Mhm.
person. And so I started getting involved in the section and chapters council and ultimately ran for a position on the board out of Pittsburgh and served in that capacity for a number of years. And I took a little time off from consulting. I wanted to spend some time caring for my aging parents, and so
Mhm.
I literally stopped doing engineering work for a little while. And when I came back to it, I came back to reaching out to Tony again and saying, how do we become involved? And I'm less involved now than I was some time ago, but still a member and still taking part in conferences and events as they come up. I'm headed to the Odor Conference in Minneapolis next month, and you might see me at ACE. I'm just not sure what my schedule looks like this year for June of 26 annual conference and exhibition.
Mhm. That's so great to hear. Hopefully, this gives our audience a sense of how they can get involved as well. Just maybe reach out to anyone that you know that's currently involved with AWA and then try to find a way to get involved. It's a great
Yeah.
organization and they will help you in your career journey. And then last but not least, to wrap up on today's session, on a more reflective note, what advice would you share with your younger self? Say something you wish you had known.
I'm going to come back to the notion of failure. I wish that I'd known, especially before I started into university in engineering, I wish that I'd known that it was okay to fail
Mhm.
because I, in first term, I failed more than one course. And it made me really question whether I could be a good engineer, whether I could get through engineering school at university. And I had to really dig deep and tell myself, no, I can do this. I want to do this. This is the career I want to pursue. And I'm not going to let this singular bump in the road define who I am or define success. And and I think that that has just been just I if I could tell anyone anything, it would be that don't ever let a boss define who you are, your value. Um, if you get a report that's marked up 10 ways to Sunday, just accept it. And if you respect that person and you respect their markups, then thank them for helping you to grow in your career. It really is the job of an employer to find work for you or help you be successful in your work, but I don't see it as the job of an employer to help you find happiness in that work.
Mhm.
And that is really in your personal court. So if you're fundamentally unhappy at work, then make a change.
Mhm.
Be bold and make a change. Don't just stay somewhere that is making you unhappy and that you're consistently struggling to be successful at.
Mhm. That's such a great advice. Thank you. I think don't let a failure define you and then become more resilient is like about the best advice a young person can hear. Thank you very much. So with that, we're wrapping up all the questions. Thank you again, Diane, for sharing your experiences with us. It's truly inspiring to hear about your career journey and your involvement with AWMA. We hope this conversation has been helpful to our young professionals, and whether you're just starting out or looking for new ways to grow and get involved. This is the third of our A&WMA Academy interview. Please stay tuned for more conversations with professionals across different backgrounds and career paths. Thank you all for joining today, and we look forward to seeing you at our next session.